Every single time we click, watch something, or buy something online, we're creating a tiny little piece of data. And when you add it all up, the world is practically drowning in information. So how does anyone make sense of it all? Well, today we're going to pull back the curtain on the exact tools and processes that companies use to turn all that data chaos into clear, smart decisions. Let's dive in. Seriously, think about it for a second. How does your streaming service just know that you're in the mood for a 90s sci-fi movie? It's not magic, not at all. It's actually a super powerful process that takes all your clicks, your views, and your ratings and turns them into these eerily good suggestions. That whole process? It's called business intelligence, and we're about to break down exactly how it works. So, what's the engine driving all of these smart decisions? Well, it's a field called business intelligence, or just BI for short. And really, at its core, it's all about one thing: turning a whole bunch of raw information into actual, real-world action. So BI isn't just about grabbing a bunch of data. It's the whole shebang. It's the apps, the strategies, the technologies, and all of it is designed with one single purpose: to help us find the real gold inside our data so we can make better, more informed choices. Okay, this flowchart right here, this is going to be our map for today. It lays out the entire journey from this huge, messy sea of raw data all the way to a single, smart, confident decision. Let's walk through it, step by step. First things first, we have to get a handle on the raw material we're working with. And in today's world, that means you have to understand the idea of big data. Now, big data isn't just a lot of data. No way. We are talking about data that is so huge, so fast, and so complicated that your normal spreadsheet program would literally crash if you tried to open it. To deal with this stuff, you need completely different tools and, honestly, a totally different way of thinking. To really get a grip on big data, people talk about the 5 V's. First, there's the crazy scale, volume. That's just the sheer amount of it. And velocity, the insane speed at which it's all flooding in. Then you've got the complexity. Variety means it comes in every format imaginable: text, pictures, sensor readings, you name it. And with all that comes the question of veracity. Like, is this data even accurate? Can we trust it? But honestly, none of that matters without the last and most important V: value, right? What's the point of having all this data if it doesn't help you make a smarter decision? And this is what we mean by variety. A company's data isn't some neat and tidy spreadsheet. It's a chaotic jumble of emails, social media posts, customer service chats, transaction logs, even data from a sensor on a factory floor. And somehow, you've got to bring it all together. Now, you can't just take that giant, messy pile of data and dump it into an analysis tool and expect magic. Nope. First, you have to clean it up. And this next step is the unsung hero of the whole process. It's the crucial prep work that makes everything else possible. This is done through a process called ETL. It stands for extract, transform, and load. So first, you extract the raw data from all those different places we just saw. Then, the really important part, you transform it. This is the big cleanup phase. You're fixing errors, getting everything into the same format, basically making it all neat and tidy. And finally, you load that squeaky clean, organized data into its new home, where it's all set for analysis. And that's exactly why ETL is the unsung hero of business intelligence. If you skip this, your analysis is built on a foundation of messy, unreliable data. It's the step that makes sure you get valuable insights out, instead of, just garbage. Okay, so we've gathered all our data and we've cleaned it all up. Now, where does it live? This brings us to the storage phase, which you can think of as building a massive digital library. Two of the most common ways to store this data are the data warehouse and the data lake. A data warehouse is like a perfectly organized library. Everything is processed, cataloged, and structured, which makes it perfect for answering specific questions you already have in mind. A data lake, on the other hand, that's more like a giant storage unit. You just throw everything in there in its raw, original form. It's a lot messier, sure, but it's fantastic for just exploring and maybe discovering questions you didn't even know you should be asking. And besides those two big ones, there are a ton of other specialized tools. You've got things like data marts, which are like mini warehouses for specific teams, and really powerful systems like NoSQL and Hadoop that are built to handle weird kinds of data at a ridiculous scale. The main takeaway here is just that for every data challenge, there's a tool built for the job. All right, our data is collected, cleaned up, and neatly stored. Now we finally get to the really fun part, the detective work. This is the analytics phase, where we actually start asking questions and uncovering the hidden stories that are buried in all that data.
The very first place you start is with descriptive analytics. Its job is super simple, but absolutely essential. It looks back at all the past data and tells you, plain and simple, what happened. It's all about summarizing the past by spotting patterns and trends.
And we see this all the time with things like business dashboards. These are those visual tools that track what people call KPIs, or key performance indicators, as they happen. A sales dashboard, for instance, gives you this clear instant snapshot of your sales numbers, telling you exactly what happened today, this week, or this month. But look, knowing what happened is only half the story. If you see that sales were down last month, okay, that's useful to know. But the real power, the real insight, comes from figuring out the next piece of the puzzle. Why? Why were they down? And answering that why question is the whole point of diagnostic analytics. This is where you really start digging to find the root cause. Was it because a marketing campaign flopped? Did a competitor launch a new product? This is the level of analysis that moves beyond just knowing what happened to truly understanding why it happened. So all of this work, all the collecting, the cleaning, the analyzing, it all builds up to this moment, the final payoff. We've gone from a total flood of raw information to a deep, clear understanding. Now, it's time to put that knowledge to work. When you get right down to it, this entire journey we just mapped out is all in service of one single goal: making smarter, data-driven decisions. It's about moving away from just relying on gut feelings and intuition, and instead making choices based on cold, hard evidence. Which brings us to a final and pretty crucial question. This whole process is incredibly powerful. But as companies use our data to get better and better at predicting what we're going to do next, we really have to ask, where's the line between being helpful and just being invasive? I mean, that perfectly timed ad is convenient for sure, but at what point does it all go a little too far? That's the big challenge we all have to think about in this new age of data-driven everything.